never seen.
Yo, what's up guys? Bill here, Classic Rock and Metal Review. That's right, back in action after another hiatus, famous for these at this point. We're going to talk about band brought to my attention by a viewer, Lounge Dweller, Sound Barrier, the name of the band. Album, Total Control from 1983. We'll get into all things, go down this thing track by track. Great one. I think he brought this up to me when I was doing one of those Love You Long Time episodes. If I had to guess, I would say it was talking about Bullets, No Mercy, about a year ago, roughly. And a bunch of you gave me some suggestions. I got them all written down. I'll eventually get to them all. But Sound Barrier, great recommendation. Picked it up a month or two ago. Played this thing about a half dozen times, so we'll get into, like I said, we'll talk about the whole album, but I'll go through the band's history first. And quickly, if you're wondering where the hell I've been, that flu I had from Christmas, next couple days after Christmas, I thought I was over it when I recorded that last video, which is coming up on 2 weeks. I mean, not only did I do that video, I rearranged, cleaned a room out. I spent hours doing work around the house. As did my wife, who also had the flu. She had a burst of energy that, I think it was Thursday after Christmas. Would have thought everything was on the road to recovery. Not so. Rebound the very next day, like you wouldn't believe. It was like I got hit by a truck. Out for almost a week, really. Just sleeping and taking Advil and all that other good shit. The flu, even though I got the flu shot. So tonight, just to take it easy on the throat, I'm still trying to avoid some coughing fits. We'll just go with some water. Plain old agua. And honestly, man, when they say that expression sucks the life out of you, I mean, I worked for 4 days last week, and then rolled into the weekend, and even though on the weekend I was off, I didn't feel like doing shit. I mean, I didn't even feel like listening to music. That's how still out of it I still was. So glad I'm finally back up to this again. I got all kinds of stuff ready to go. I've been doing all the legwork and so forth. Just having the time to do this and the will, actually, you know. So I did a lot of reading though. I'm 60 pages into this one. Bill Graham's biography. Awesome promoter, of course. What's his real name? Wolfgang Krajanski, I think, or something. Krajanski. That was his real name. So, man, what a story. You know, everyone's got a story. That's how I feel. But someone like this, man, really. I mean, basically from Nazi Germany era and being a Jew there. So all that whole background thing, you got, you know, shuttled out of there, smuggled out basically as a kid. Really enthralling. Something, you know, to check out one day, guys. Now that I'm done my geezer bio, on to that Bill Graham monster of a book. It's a big one. All right, so Sound Barrier. Let's do a little. This was my third favorite new to me album for 2023. So we'll get into why. And really, technically, I think I had Richard Wright up there as one of the top two. And technically, I've had that one for years. So really, one of my favorites. Okay, these were the first all African American metal band signed to a major label back in, I think that happened in late '82. Unfortunately, low sales, management issues in the band was dropped soon after that by MCA. They formed in 1980. They lasted about 7 or 8 years. Actually resumed in 2017. I'm not really sure how active they are though, but at least there was some sort of, you know, reunion that happened not too long ago. I'll bring you up to speed with their overall history, other relevant things about them, but we'll focus mainly on this 1983 album, Total Control. So the band actually forms Los Angeles, 1980. Bernie K is the lead vocalist. Guitarist Spacey T. They form Sound Barrier. They both had been in an R&B funk band prior to that, I think for a year or two, together. They formed, like I said, Sound Barrier in 1980. They're going hard rock metal. The scene's going that way anyway. Drummer Dave Brown, he's there from 80 to 87. Initial bassist Keith Roster, he's there from 80 to 82. Gets replaced by bassist Stanley E., who's there from 82 to 85. Pretty key member of this band, actually. And on the album Total Control. We'll talk about how to get it, you know, afterwards. Not the easiest thing to get your hands on. So at the end, we'll talk about that. So basically, on the strength of a 4-song demo, MCA signs them. Like I said, I think that was late 82, and Total Control comes out in 1983. The title track, Total Control, is released as a single. There's a 12-inch out there as a single. Promo video shot for the 3rd song on the album, Rock Without the Roll. Can't say I remember seeing that back in the day, or even ever, honestly. If I did, really just don't remember it. So they had some support initially, singles, video, but they lose their manager. I think their road manager was fired by MCA at some point and just not replaced. An overall lack of promotion by MCA in general, losing their actual road manager at some point, and MCA just had no idea how to promote these guys, from what it sounds like. And I think it was an interview from about 10 years ago with lead vocalist Bernie Kay talking about what had happened back then. He said basically they would sit around the room with MCA execs and they would basically tell them, we don't know how to promote you guys, whether it's just you're the first black metal act, do we try to sell you to black people, do we try to just sell you to white people? And the band was basically like, why don't you just promote us as a metal band? That's what we are. So, not that ever really happened. Low sales, lack of promotion. I think 12,000 is the number of units that Total Control was able to sell, officially anyway. So, let's get into the album itself. Recommended by Lounge Dweller, regular viewer of the channel. Thanks, man. This is a great one. Really kind of made my year, honestly. Great finding old school metal that you never heard, and it lives up to a lot of the other stuff you were listening to back in the day. Early 80s, of course, just ruled when it came to metal. And I think this goes back, like I said, about a year ago. If you want to try to get this on CD, there was a version out from 2001 by Old Metal Records. Sound like a needle drop, and not a really good one at that. But it not only had this whole album on there, Total Control, it also has the 4-song 1984 EP Born to Rock on there. So at least you get that. But they're pretty hard to come by, $50, $60 and up. You can get this thing on vinyl, $10 to $20. Discogs has them, eBay has them, and worth every penny. And they're actually pretty good copies for the most part that are out there, from best I can tell. So enough background info, let's get into the album itself. Total Control by Sound Barrier. So we start out with opening song, Other Side. Great one, all right? Simple riff, main riff anyway. Got some great guitar work going on. Nice sort of almost like Maiden-esque hook in there. Sort of these funky fills by bassist Stanley E. And they're quick. They're just quick. If the song comes to a stop for a second, he throws a little lick in there kind of thing. So, I've read some reviews, people calling this band funk metal. I mean, not everyone says that, but a few people stretch it to funk metal. Now, I'm not opposed to that concept at all. It actually sounds really cool, but that is not funk metal. This is a metal album with a bassist who throws in some funky licks. All right, and the opening song, Other Side, it's a real headbanger. Pretty much, I think, the fastest song on here. Really solid riff. Now, lyrically, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I don't give a shit about lyrics. They're like, I think, the least most important component of a song. And, if you're into lyrics, this is not going to be your number, all right? Because basically the whole song is, we got to find our way back to the other side. And that's all he ever says, at least for the verses. Some different lyrics right in the chorus and so forth. But it's just a great rockin', upbeat rockin' song, metal song. Great riff, great opener. I love how the background vocals, they just do this really quick main lyrics. The main singing of the chorus is, gotta find our way back to the other side, back to the other side. The background vocals are these like stabbing sort of smash and grab is what I kind of call it. Quickly interjected background vocals that seem like a small thing at first listener to. By the third or fourth listen, that's like my favorite damn part of the song. I just love how the rest of the band comes in, does the title chorus. Good guitar solo, great all-around solid opener. Like I said, headbanger. Track number 2, Total Control, the title track. This is my favorite song on this record. Probably my favorite new song of 2023. Absolutely love it. Song opens right up with this great melodic guitar riff that also happens during the choruses, but in the beginning of the song, no singing, just drums, bass, guitar just doing this cool melodic riff. Quieter verses with just a sort of strum on the guitar, bass and drums just laying down a smooth little rhythm. Great chorus on this one. Now, I just mentioned how little lyrics mean to me. This one I actually love the lyrics. And not that it like sort of, was some new notion to me. We've got total control of our lives. That's been my saying for like years now. We made some big moves personally 2-3 years ago. Relocated, just up and left my job. And a lot of people from where I come from don't even think that's a possibility. For me, I don't think that way. So these lyrics just sort of rang with me, for once. Once in a while it happens. So great chorus, nice harmony at the chorus, and it gets higher as it goes along too. That's kind of cool. And the song is already at it's at a moderate pace, but I love towards the end where it starts to go double time on the drums. It's just, I don't know, I just love everything about this song. The solo, guitar solo in here, you got this great sort of almost like a Neil Peart, Geddy Lee riff rocking going on behind the guitar solo. No backup, overdubbed rhythm guitar. The guitar solo by Spacey T, great one. It's got like a phaser kind of effect on it a little bit here and there. Does a little bit of whammy bar. Really reminds me of early 80s Rush. Take your pick, 80, 82, that era. Maybe even the playing that was on like Grace Under Pressure, but the sound would be a little heavier, more like 80, 82 Rush. And I think just because of the way the bass is just rumbling all over the place, drums are solid. He's no Neil Peart on drums, but I'm just saying the drums and bass are just going off on their own kind of thing while the guitar's going off doing its own thing for the solo. This is just a great, fantastic song. Third, Rock Without the Roll. I mentioned that this song actually had a video for it, so showing you some clips of that right now while I gab about Rock Without the Roll. This one took me a little to get into. It's a little more of your basic metal, and it is, after a few listens, a damn catchy basic song. I dare you not to bang your head to this one. And you know what? That can be said for pretty much everything on this album. The songs can be a little off time here and there, whether you want to call them little progressive passages or just stutters or whatever. Nice little interesting, tasty little things thrown in there as far as the tempo goes. But no matter what, you're always banging your head to this music, It's really just catchy like that. They kind of got all kinds of bases covered, man. More cool, funky bass licks in Rock Without the Roll. A couple of total funk riffs, but like I said, they're just a second here and there. Just enough to spice things up without turning it into a funk per se. Some choppy guitar parts. Drums kind of carry the song with this one. This one, like I said, grew on me, but now I'm really into this one too. So another great one in Rock Without the Roll. Fourth song in, Mayday. This is an instrumental. Another sort of early 80s Rush sounding song to me. More of what makes the first three songs great. You got some funky little bass slaps here and there. Alex Lifeson influenced guitar sound, as far as the sound goes, like I said. No rhythm, guitar overdubbed. I just love that, man. Reminds me of like the early Van Halen albums. It would just be Mike and Eddie, during the solos. They don't have that other guitar clouding the issue. You just get to hear everything nice and clear. That goes on here. This instrumental's over way too soon at 2 minutes and 4 seconds. Last song on side 1, Second Thoughts. This one, a little more simpler, okay? Does have a sort of stuttery kind of rhythm to it, choppy kind of thing. It is sort of intriguing in that it's a little bit of an off-time rhythm, but not as many sort of twists and turns, interesting things about it as the first 4 songs have. So it's okay, just my least favorite off side 1. All right, riffing into side 2, Nobody Cares. This might be, I think, the sleeper of the record. okay, because I wasn't really big on this one at all and thought it was okay. Now I'm about a half a dozen listens into this thing, starting to like it a little more the last few times, to the point where I think it's a good song. Not great, but good. Again, it's not cookie cutter metal, rhythmically speaking or anything. Stops and starts, stutters, the main riff is it's just off time, not what you're expecting. And it actually changes tempo a couple times, changes rhythms a few times. Cool solo again. Spacey T is a hell of a guitarist, He's not mind-blowing, but he's just consistently good. Does what needs to be done. One of those guitarists that's just doing what the song calls for at all times, though. And he really has come to be known as a real good sort of funk, metal, fusion guitar player. I caught something on their Facebook page by him that I think was only a few years old. Really cool stuff. So he's actually known as sort of probably an underground, but known as a really good guitarist even today. So I would put Nobody Cares, first song on side 2, as sort of a sleeper track, and it's a good one, and it's, with a bullet. Let's put it that way. 7th song, Don't Put Me on Hold. More little off-time nuances to this one, but it's an overall just basic rhythm. Not as much variation as, say, Nobody Cares or a lot of side 1. Another good solo, but this song I would say is just okay, decent, not bad. Hey You, 3 minutes and 10 seconds for Hey You. Hey You is actually just a guitar and vocal song, and most of the way. You do have some little percussive elements towards the end. It's really just more of a build towards the last song. I mean, it is its own song. It's 3 minutes and all that. But really just sort of a build and a setup for one of the best songs on the album. The Ender, 6 minute long, Rock on the Wild Side. I think this is the only one the band didn't write themselves. Somebody contributed to this one. Let's see, written by Neftali Santiago. This one, heavy rhythm, straightforward, sort of mid-tempo, heavy rocker. Awesome chorus in this one. I mean, it's a really good song, but the chorus is just killer. I'm a rocker, I'm a roller, I'm a dedicated soldier. And right in between those, I'm a rocker, I'm a roller, these great little guitar fills, total air guitar fuel. Album ends strong with this one. And I also like that during Rock on the Wild Side, they also have the words total control are in some of the lyrics. I always loved when bands threw in the title of another song among the lyrics of something else, Floyd did that on a couple of their early tracks. Just makes me, I don't know, I just find that cool. Final words, man. Side 1, almost perfect. Great songs almost all the way through there. It's kind of basic metal, and yet it's more interesting than basic metal with these tempo changes. I don't know if you want to call them progressive passages. If you want, I guess you could, off-time kind of things. Some funky bass licks, but they're very minimal, but they do spice things up. They're bass licks you're just not going to typically hear on a metal album. Really gives Sound Barrier their own kind of sound. Solid vocals and drums. Occasionally funky sort of bass slaps. The guitar has a real sort of early 80s Rush sound to it. I have nothing wrong with that. I'm not the hugest Rush fan, but I just feel like that's the sound that I'm picking up off of this album. Real Alex Lifeson, Moving Pictures, Signals era from Sound Barrier. Some of the guitar licks also, I think this should be noted, they're sort of refreshingly of an intermediate level. Now, let me try to explain. That's not a backhanded compliment. Maybe you can call it that. Some really cool licks that I think a lot of guitarists would play in their early days and then leave behind once they were, too good to play those kind of riffs. So I like that we have some riffs here that are maybe a little, like I said, on the, amateurish is probably the wrong words. Guitar playing's great, but he's not afraid to play your standard early 80s sort of hammer-ons and note runs and things. No, they're not a million miles an hour. They just fit the damn song perfectly. And you know what? Like I said, a lot of guitarists, after they're playing so many years, would probably never play riffs like this again because it's sort of quote unquote beneath them. But it fits here. These riffs are good and you don't hear them anymore, you know? So sort of some retro riffs. I don't know if any of you guys picked up on that. Melodic style of playing by the guitar, and just in general, that just fits the whole band. It fits these songs. I love that there's very little overdubbed rhythm guitar. So all the bass work that goes on during solos is clearly heard. Guitar solos themselves clearly heard also. Side 2 not as strong, but still pretty decent. Ends really, really strong with Rock on the Wild Side. There's enough here on 6 out of 9 of these songs, maybe 7, where, you know, I don't even care if it doesn't make much sense. I don't love the whole album. I have to give this thing a solid 8.4, 8.6, somewhere in there. Now maybe back in 83, among all the other great albums coming out, this would be more like around an 8. All right, so I have to admit that probably giving it some points just because it's discovered now when you think pretty much everything's already been discovered, and not the case. So a solid 8.4, 8.6 for Sound Barriers Total Control. Grab it on vinyl. There's some great copies still out there to be had on vinyl. And like I said, pretty reasonably, 10 to 20 bucks. Now these guys, after being dropped by MCA, they released an independent EP in 84 called Born to Rock. Lost bassist Stanley E in 85. He was replaced by a dude named Emil Leck and recorded the 1986 album Speed of Light for Metal Blade Records. Spacey T would depart in 86. Band dissolved in 87. Now, from all accounts, the Born to Rock EP and Speed of Light, more just sort of basic metal. Probably, you know, I haven't heard much. I heard a little bit of Born to Rock. Sounds like they just sort of got away from the stuttery sort of rhythms, the off-time stuff. A little more straight ahead, by all accounts, from what I've read, heard, and Lounge Dwellers comments. I'm going by that too. So I don't have those records. I imagine at some point I'm going to want them now. This one's good enough. So they did, like I said, they did get reunited in 2017. Tom Morello of Rage Against the Machine was instrumental in helping them get back organized for that gig. I'm not sure how active these guys are now. They got a Facebook page saying that they are active, but I don't see any shows or anything listed. But you know what? Just everyone do yourselves a favor. If you're an old school metalhead, early 80s, you're going to like Sound Barriers Total Control album. Interesting stuff here. A couple songs that'll grab you right away. A couple that you'll get into after a few listens. And the album's still growing on me 6 listens in. That's a damn good sign. Always. Guys, hope to catch you again real soon. Hope everyone's doing good, and Happy New Year. Hope you were able to handle more than this New Year's Eve or today. Looks like they got the batteries back on the fireplace. I'll catch you soon enough. Cheers.